This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, website, or online store, make it with Squarespace. All right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to a new YouTube video. Today we're going to be chatting about my favorite lenses for portrait photography. Before this video does start, I just wanted to thank everyone, especially who left a comment on my Colorado video. For those of you who haven't seen that, make sure to go check that out and let me know what you think about it. I took a 3,000-mile road trip with my girlfriend all the way from Los Angeles to Colorado and back in my Land Cruiser, and it was honestly the most beautiful trip I've ever been on, and I made a really cool video about it, so let me know what you guys think about that. But all that aside, we're gonna be chatting today about my 3 favorite lenses for portrait photography. I know a lot of you always wonder kind of the gear that I'm using, and honestly, while gear doesn't matter as much as you might think, to me, gear does matter enough to talk about it, obviously. That's why I'm making this video. So I'm gonna share with you guys the lenses that I personally used for my portrait photography. Portrait photography to me has always been something that I've been very interested in. I personally take it on as a challenge. I think it's really difficult a lot of the times to get a really nice portrait of somebody, especially when you don't have perfect light or you don't have the location that you might want, whatever that may be. There's a lot of variables to it. I think that's why portrait photography is so fun. But today we're gonna be chatting just about the 3 lenses that I use the most and why I use them in certain situations. I'm also gonna be recommending you guys some budget lenses as well, ones that I used when I personally started out and kind of grew to my lens collection that I have now. But there's some great lenses out there, and I would encourage you guys just to get out there and take photos. That's honestly the most important part about portrait photography. But I will say that having a decent selection of lenses obviously does help. So without further ado, let's get into it and chat about my favorite lenses for portrait photography. So starting things off here, we have the Canon 24-70 f2.8 version 2 lens. For those of you who have watched this channel for a while or have followed my photography on the internet, you know that I've used this lens for a very long time. I've had it for about 3 years now, and it really just is as good as people say it is. The nice thing is it's gotten a lot cheaper over the years, so now you can buy one used for a lot cheaper than a brand new one. So I would definitely recommend that if you guys are looking to get into purchasing this lens. But for me, I use this lens pretty exclusively for a lot of my work. I think it's pretty easy to tell when I do shoot on like a prime lens with much shallower depth of field. But this thing, honestly, the 2.8 is pretty amazing. And it's been amazing for so long, and it's always in my camera bag. I never really can go on a trip leaving this lens behind just because I know how much I will use it. Even for video stuff, I think it's very good. Obviously, it doesn't have image stabilization built in, but on the photo side of things especially, I think that's where this lens really shines. The ability to zoom from 24-70 and have a constant aperture of f2.8 really just makes this lens shine. And personally, if I had to choose just one lens to be on my camera, it would be this one. So the 24-70 not only is an incredible lens, but you can also find them for fairly cheap now if you want to buy one secondhand, which is what I would recommend. But yeah, kicking things off, the 24-70 Mark II 2.8. Great lens. The next lens we're going to be talking about here is the Canon 35mm f1.4 Mark II. This lens is also pretty incredible. I would say the 24-70 is honestly a lot more versatile, but for what this lens is used for, it's incredible. I would say it's one of the sharper Canon lenses that I've personally used. I haven't really tested all of the Canon lenses, but as far as the ones that I personally own, this lens is just incredible through and through, always so sharp. Even if you shoot at f1.4, it really does just nail the focus. And I absolutely love that about this lens. I don't have to check focus as much as I normally would on other lenses. And I just love the look of 35mm focal length. I know it's a pretty popular focal length for a lot of people, but I personally just love the way it looks, especially for portraits, because it's not 24mm where I personally think it's a little bit too wide. It's just right in the middle, and I think that's why it's so pleasing to the eyes. So the 35mm lens honestly is pretty great. I know I've made a video about this lens in the past. If you guys want to check that out as well, feel free. I go into detail a bit more, but this lens is pretty much always in my camera bag as well for portraits. So moving on here, we have the Canon 85mm f1.4 lens as well. This is the new image stabilized version. There is a Canon 85mm f1.2. This lens is not that. I recently bought this lens about 4 months ago, and I've really been enjoying it. I've mentioned this lens in a few other videos as well, but I really do enjoy the compressed focal length of 85mm. I haven't always been a huge fan of the 70-200 focal length. I think just sometimes it's a little bit too zoomed in at 200. And I think having a prime like this, like an 85mm, really makes you kind of just move around with your subject, which is inherently not a bad thing at all. Usually I will pair this 85mm lens with the Canon 16-35 f4, which is what we're filming on right now. And the nice thing is both of these lenses have image stabilization built into the lenses. So no matter what Canon camera body you're filming on, you will have image stabilization. And for video, honestly, it's so nice to be able to film handheld. A lot of my stuff nowadays is filmed handheld. I do love gimbals, but there's just honestly a lot to bring sometimes. So being able to film handheld and get pretty stable footage that looks great is everything. For portrait stuff as well, obviously for headshots and kind of, just cropped in shots of a subject, this lens is incredible for that. I've really been kind of experimenting with it and using different light sources and shooting different people just to see what the 85mm lens looks like, and it really is just shines so well. And low light does well, obviously, because you have that 1.4 aperture if you need it. And I've just really been enjoying using a different focal length than something I would normally use. So this 85mm lens has been great as well, and it's usually in my camera bag along with the 24-70 and the Canon 35. All in all, I do want to say that these three lenses are sometimes pretty pricey, and I fully realize this. It's taken me years and years and years to have enough money to accumulate even a couple of these lenses. But if I were starting out and I would suggest some lenses to you guys, and I'll put these links down in the description, I would say the Sigma Art Series line is really, really good. I've personally used the Sigma 35 Art and 50 Art lenses, and they're great. I really get the best bang for their buck as far as lenses go because they run anywhere around from $800 to $1,000, and the nice thing is if you buy secondhand, they're even cheaper. And this is a great way to get into shooting with prime lenses, or if you guys want to get a great zoom lens as well. I've heard Tamron makes a great 24-70 as well. And I've actually personally never used this lens before, but actually a few of my friends have recommended this lens to me for video specifically because it does have image stabilization. So if you guys are interested in any of those lenses, I'll put those down in the description. They're much more reasonably priced than a lot of these Canon lenses. But all that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you guys have any questions about any of these lenses down below, and we'll see ya in the next one. Peace. Thanks again to our sponsor, which is Squarespace, for sponsoring today's video. If you are looking to create a custom website from scratch without all the coding and hassles that come with it, Squarespace is by far the best choice out there to make a beautiful website. They have easy to use templates which make creating a beautiful theme that much easier, 24/7 customer support for all of your questions, and tons of customizable options to really make your website stand out. If you're interested in trying out Squarespace for yourself, go to squarespace.com/Samuel Elkins, which is in the description, to get 10% off your first website or domain purchase.